Welcome to Deep Cuff Channel. As we enter the 298th day of the war, the glorious flag of Ukraine will soon be flying all over Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky announces that the Ukrainian army is closer to victory than ever before. What did Russia say against Zelensky's claims? Violent clashes on the fronts continue from where they left off. Russia began to increase missile and artillery attacks. Russian Federation Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu visited Ukraine. Putin's disaster in Ukraine seems to never end. England made one of the most important aids to Ukraine in its history. Volodymyr Zelensky thanks England. There are new developments regarding Patriot air defense systems that the U.S. military is considering sending to Ukraine. Will Germany send Leopard tanks to Ukraine? Ukrainian army is determined to drive the Russian troops from their land with the successes it has achieved. Latest statement by the Chief of Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces points to the magnitude of the losses of the Russian troops at the front. Accordingly, Russia lost 590 soldiers, 2 tanks, 5 armored combat vehicles, 1 artillery system, and 1 tactical unmanned aerial vehicle in the last 24 hours. While most of the Russian casualties were in the southern region, new news continues to come from the eastern region. According to the latest news from the region, the Ukrainian Defense Forces managed to repel 15 attacks carried out in the last 24 hours by the Russian army, which was trying to advance in the region. It is very important that the Ukrainian army successfully repelled the Russian attacks, especially in the Stelmakivka, Serebryansk, Vyomka, Vesel, and Bakhmut regions. It is stated that the Russian army carried out 42 attacks using multi-barrel rocket systems, in addition to 5 air attacks in total. Biggest secret of the success of the Ukrainian army is that most of these attacks were neutralized by the Ukrainian air defense systems. Rapid use of the missile stock in the Russian defense inventory is a harbinger of a more serious crisis for Russia in the long run. It is thought that Russia lost a total of 98,280 soldiers, 2,987 tanks, 281 aircraft, 265 helicopters, 1649 unmanned aerial vehicles, and 16 ships during this period, as we entered the 298th day of the war. These are very serious numbers. After these losses, the Russian army launched a revenge movement against the Ukrainian army and went on the offensive. Head of the military administration of Sumy Oblast, Dmytro Zhivitsky, announced that the Russians carried out 20 attacks on various points in the Sumy region during the day. Explaining that the Russians especially preferred the UN-21 Grad system for these attacks, Zhivitsky underlined that the Ukrainian defense units in the region are on full alert. Meanwhile, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu arrived in Ukraine after a long break. According to the news of the Russian propaganda channel RIA Novosti, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, Sergei Shoigu, came to the region at noon in order to solve the major problems of the troops in Ukraine and to boost the morale of his army. It is noteworthy that during this visit of Shoigu, he especially visited the southern region, because Russia expects a big Ukrainian attack in this region. Ukrainian officials regularly state that the main target of the Ukrainian army is the Crimean Peninsula. Main theme behind Shoigu's visit is to reassure the Russian army. But if the Kremlin is to achieve anything on the ground, it must change its outdated tactics and adapt to the demands of the modern battlefield. Only strategy of the Russian army at the front is to wear out the Ukrainian army by using missile and artillery systems. Since the first week of October, Russia has launched more than 1,000 cruise missiles at Ukraine. Initially, Russian missile attacks took place in response to a Russian defeat by Ukraine from behind Russian lines, such as attacks on the Kerch Bridge in Crimea or in the east. Another important point here is where the missiles were launched. According to British intelligence, most Russian missiles are launched from the Krasnodar region of Russia. Krasnodar is a region of strategic importance for Russia, located in the Caucasus region. In the first months of the war, Russian missile units were on duty on the Crimean Peninsula. However, At the point we have reached, we see that Russia has completely changed its war strategy. Reason for this is that the main target of the Ukrainian army is the Crimean Peninsula. Russia is afraid. Russia's only hope is to cut off aid reaching Ukraine from the west. Indeed, Russia claims that the airstrikes stopped the flow of foreign weapons and ammunition to Ukraine. Russia also claims that the airstrikes managed to prevent Ukraine's own facilities from producing and repairing different weapons, ammunition, and military equipment. Russia has carried out airstrikes on various military and industrial targets in Ukraine and successfully blocked the flow of weapons and ammunition from other countries to Ukraine, the Russian Ministry of Defense said in a statement. Russia also said that in airstrikes it managed to destroy S-300 air defense system radar stations in the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. We would not be mistaken if we say that all these claims of Russia are unfounded. As a matter of fact, immediately after this statement made by Russia, it was confirmed that a new aid had reached Ukraine. UK Ministry of Defense has confirmed that the country is supplying Brimstone 2 precision-guided missiles to Ukraine to support the fight against Russia. This aid has played a crucial role in stopping Russia's advance, the UK Ministry of Defense said on Twitter. Brimstone 2 is a newer, longer-range configuration of British-made anti-tank guns. Ukrainian army uses the Brimstone as part of its truck-mounted missile launchers. Mobilization and numerical superiority of these systems provide serious success when used against the Russian army. After this assistance from England, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky conveyed his thanks to Rishi Sunak. In addition, Zelensky urged Britain not to cut military aid to Ukraine. Britain is one of the countries that has provided serious aid to Ukraine since the beginning of the war. Russian military is particularly uncomfortable with the British and US systems, because Russian systems cannot exist in the face of developed Western systems. In this context, Putin's only trump card is that these systems do not reach Ukraine. In this context, the most important news of last week was the claim that the U.S. Army will send Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. These allegations made the Russians very angry. In fact, the spokesperson of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Maria Zakharova, even made a special statement on this matter. At this point, we see Putin praying to Biden not to send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. On Friday, Pentagon Press Secretary Air Force Brigadier General Pat Ryder said there were no reports of the potential transfer of a MiM-104 Patriot air defense battery to Ukraine. However, it is crucial to send anti-aircraft weapon systems to Ukraine, as the Russian military is constantly attacking Ukrainian cities and critical infrastructure. In this context, we brought up the exchange offer of Greece in our video yesterday. Another important need of Ukraine is tanks. Here, countries such as Poland, Hungary, Romania sent some of their old Soviet tanks to Ukraine. But the Ukrainians want more advanced tanks. Their first choice here is German Leopard tanks. Currently, there are no Western tanks on the battlefields of Ukraine. Ukraine received a signal from the USA that the delivery of German Leopard tanks is possible. However, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has officially announced that German tanks are not considered to be sent to Ukraine for the time being. We will continue to monitor the world and especially Ukraine. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.